I feel you, man. I feel you. But thank you for jumping on the podcast, man. It's a new little thing I'm doing, but I think it's pretty good. You get to hear different people's stories and stuff. I was able to catch B-Rob and then have Reggie, as well as I got Sharif on here as well.
Sharif? What?
Yeah, I talked to him. Talked to him. What I think it was Friday, and we was able to talk about like the banking industry. So that was pretty cool. And then also having Niger jump on as well, with him being out there in California.
Yeah, because Niger looks like he's doing a lot of stuff, man.
Man, Niger just getting it, ain't he? God.
Hey, you gotta hustle any way you can sometimes, for real.
Hey, yo, and it's a different world out here now. So the ones who try are the ones who make it.
Trust me, that adulting stuff sucks, bro.
Dude, I'm feeling it. I've just started. But yeah, I was going to send you those questions, but then I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and get it off the top of the dome.
That's fine. You're not prepared that way anyway.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and begin with this. All right, you guys, welcome to the On My Way Podcast with your boy Pernell Bills, and I got another special guest with me today. He's more of a UWF mentor. He's a motivational speaker nationwide, and he's built a different form of empire, you can say, right? He's a public speaker, as well as he shows so much confidence, and he breathes life into different people. What's up? Hey, I'm about to introduce you guys to my dog, Kali Richardson.
Hello. First of all, thank you for that bomb introduction. I make you bigger than what I am. I appreciate that.
Hey, man, people don't know, man. You got a bigger impact on a lot of individuals, bro. That's not just an alpha or things like that. You got a lot of big influences on the guys that I hang out with every single day. So I know personally what the impact that you have. So I feel like it's only right that I give the other people who are listening to this podcast the ability to hear your words and understand where you come from, the mindset that you have. And so the first thing first, man, how did you get into, for one, getting from being a soccer player to being kind of like a motivational speaker, but not knowing that you was a motivational speaker? Because you're motivating people back in Collegiate 100 days, and now you're doing it nationwide. How did that begin?
Yeah, man, it's kind of weird. So originally, I've always kind of been a more or less one-track mind kind of person. And so when I played soccer, that's really all I cared about. But really I think if I had to pick a defining moment to make it not over complicated, I was just try. That's really what it came down to. When I was, seeking out my fraternity and whatnot, somebody basically told me I was inadequate. And you know how I am when it comes to someone trying me. And I was like, oh, word? Heck, we'll see. So from that point, I took a lot more energy from just, training, playing ball 2-a-days, national team, that type of stuff, and started investing more and becoming more disciplined and more consistent in my studies. And that was like one of the first times I realized like the schoolboy thing I can really do. Before I just kind of did what I needed to do to play ball or get the grades I needed to get to make it to the next level. It wasn't like a consistent thing. So once I started doing that in efforts of chasing this fraternity idea, I realized I can do scholarship, and which means I also had to learn leadership skills. And at the time, I didn't think soccer gave me that many skills really, outside of like a team aspect. So I had great mentors like Dr. Brian Turner, now Dr. Jeff Benjamin, Dominique George, Michael Rowland, Dr. Joseph White, God bless his soul, and other great brothers, Mr. Kisner Redu, and other people like that, Dean Mitchell at University of South Alabama, who really invested into me very hardcore critical points that forced me to think more, forced me to question myself more, and kind of built the foundation of my own philosophy of leadership, which is basically you have to be the example you want to see. So I can't get on to anybody about doing anything if I don't do it myself first. And so as I went from soccer to Collegiate 100, right, the first organization I really joined when I was at UWF, and learning leadership underneath Cameron White, and figuring out, how can I get those around me to go towards a goal, it ended up in me becoming president of the 100 when we first brought it back. And that led to a second term. And then that developed into more leadership roles. And it just kind of became a cascade effect of leadership. And I realized that I got more satisfaction, and it meant more to me to be a leader and to help my brothers and my sisters in situations where we needed guidance than just kicking a ball. Even though I was good at both, that's kind of what made the turning point for me.
I understand you're from the Virgin Islands, right? But you came up in Jacksonville somewhat. Because the idea of Jacksonville, the reason why I say that is because a lot of the guys I've had on here, two so far, you're the third, and then I have another guest who's coming on tomorrow, and he's from Jacksonville. And the understanding of when we came up was you play sports to get out of your situation. If you're a young black man, you play sports to get out of your situation. I don't care what sport it is. You play it and you dominate and you do what you got to do to get out, to go to your next level. And education, I'm just being real, is seen as a maybe secondhand option you can go with. And the middle schools that we went to, I went to JD, which I think is better than Jeb Stewart, but
wow.
But the middle schools that we went to, you can say that students made it seem like it was a joke to be smart. And even going to high school level, they made it seem like, why are you trying in education-wise? Does that play a big part in the mentality that you had coming into school and going into becoming a leader? Does that play any type of role? Did that ever play a role?
Yeah, definitely played a role. Because like you said, man, Duval, first of all, and then third, it comes down to a point to where, like, I basically grew up in an environment like you where we had to fight to survive. And so survival was just another day of the block. And rather it was when I was in the islands, when I was back and forth here in America, in Duval County, I was just worried about getting out. And instead of being a student athlete, I was an athletic student. You feel me? Like I was in honor classes in middle school, but because I had the glasses and the braids and I was small, catching the rest of me a lot. And so I was a AB honor roll student that was in Bannerman because of fighting. So for those of you who don't know, Bannerman is an alternative school. You send the kids who got basically kicked out. And it ended in the result of me getting so many fights to a point to where I basically was kicked out of Duval County School going into high school because of my situation, because of the environment where it's not cool to be smart. And I couldn't be, an AB student and be a star athlete, which I think is now as an adult is crazy. But back then I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just trying to make it to the next stage. And so I think when you take that survival kind of attitude and are able to get into a college setting, a collegiate setting, beyond high school, it makes you some of the best leaders I've ever, had the honor of working with, knowing, and or seeing, because you have a natural fire inside you where there isn't a no, right? There isn't, like Tupac said, if I'm hungry and the door is locked, and I know there's food behind and I'm knocking, and you don't want to open it, I'm just going to kick it in. Like, it's like tenacity is bred into you, because if you say no in the streets, you say no in those hard environments, you're not going to make it. So it's learning how to take that environment that shaped you and master it in the sense that when you go to a new environment, you can shape the environment to fit you. So without the hardships of being in the Virgin Islands or the hardships of being in Duval, being small naturally, and so forth, I can't sit here and say I'd be the same confident, strong leader that I believe I am because of those things. Because when I got tried, the little black kid in my chest stood up and was like, oh, word? And I took that attitude or that anger towards that statement instead of, lashing out and fighting, channeling it into my leadership. And that's why a lot of people who have worked with me know that when it comes down to business or leadership, when we say we're going to do something, I'm like super hardcore with it, because it's not a game at that point. It's hard for me to pull out of that survival approach. I'm getting better now. I've got a little soft over the years, but Duval and that survival aspect has shaped me in my success.
So when it became to speaking, like, I understand you are in the medical field, but where did the becoming a public speaker? Like, how did that start? You know, I understand C100, but how did that, you know, that first jump out there like, hey, I may be able to be a public speaker and motivate this next generation?
Honestly, again, just like everything else in my life, it was kind of somebody believed in me and pushed me to try it. So originally, first and foremost, I hate public. Start there. It's really weird. I hate public speaking, and like when I used to do to the 100, I used to be nervous out the wazoo. Like I was just super nervous all the time. But when I was, you know, back forth in Jax, middle school, high school, I did a lot of poetry. I was like an undercover poet. No one knew I was a poet. So Instagram was a thing. I was just going to like random open mics and dropping bars because it helped me just survive, kind of get my anger out. And so I kind of took that mentality and say, you know, no one knows what I'm going to say but me. I did that in poetry and applied to speaking. And so from going through college, 100, Alpha, SGA, all these different leadership roles, and more or less without knowing it, crafting my style of speech. When I was ready to graduate, one of my profiles, Mr. Harrison Peters, he is actually the superintendent for schools in Hillsborough County in Tampa. And he's an education consultant and an education speaker. And he was saying, yo, you can do this. And I was like, no, I don't think so, big guy. It doesn't work that way. And so basically I know, right? So basically he pulled all this information together. I was like, look, we'll pay for your first year, for your LLC. Try it. If you don't like it, don't worry about it. You don't lose any money. You know, fresh out of school and graduating, you broke, right? So I was like, oh, okay, you know, you can pay for it? I'll try it. Why not?
It's not coming out of my pocket, right?
Exactly, right? So did that and realized because of my connections, I got a couple of opportunities right off bat. And actually, Reggie, who was on your podcast, was able to take some pictures for me for one of my engagements on racial reconciliation in Pensacola, Florida. And I realized it's not much different when I did what we do on campus. It's not much different from panels. It's not much different from workshops. When we had the Men of Color retreat, it's not that much different from the things we're already doing as undergraduates. And so I just took that mentality and I use it now whenever I was speaking to. At the end of the day, it may be the same information they already know, but they haven't had it presented in the way that I presented. So I always remember, no matter if we walk with kings, we don't move the common. And in medicine, even though I may know all these medical terms, and I know what they mean, patients don't. Now, to translate what that may mean to them in an understandable manner. So I think that same bit of leadership information, that complex psychological information, and translate it to my audience, let them know, hey, it's a simple fix to your problem. This is what it is. And just for one more point, I'm more of a public speaker than a motivational speaker. Right? I think of course, if I can motivate people, it's great. But I think a motivational speaker is more like Eric Thomas or like our friend Abe, right? Like they motivate people. That's their goal. My goal is to motivate you. If I motivate you, that's what's up. Like that's a bonus. It's more like Coach Carter for me. You need to be conditioned, i.e. motivated, right? You need to be conditioned to a certain point so I can train you. So you go listen to ET, you go talk to Abe, you get motivated, then you come see me, and I'm going to be a public speaker. I'm going to train you on how to do what it is you want to do to get to the goals you want to get to.
It's like going back to soccer where you have to work out and do what you need to do so you can actually be ready for the game.
Yep, and just like anything else, I even quote E.T. said it, right? Well, he was quoting somebody else. Basically, he said, you know, all men are created equal. Some work harder and appreciate. So whenever I'm crafting these engagements, I'm looking at my audience. I'm looking at what goals they wanted, what goals they're achieving, and what techniques, simple techniques they can take away. So every time I talk to you, you're going to get my thoughts on the idea. I'm trying to shed a reflective piece on you, and then I'm going to give you some takeaways that you can take away if you did nothing else. If you completely ignored me the whole time, you can at least take away one thing right then, one tool, take back to your business, take back to your university, take back to your organization, and utilize it and get an idea of what direction you need to go.
So I see on your website is KylieRichardson.com, but it is actually Alchemist Solutions? Did I say it right?
Yeah, so the company itself is Alchemic Solutions. So it came behind the idea of alchemy itself was a science in the Middle Ages where they would transmute, they would change one element to something else. So they basically had the idea that the optimal goal is to change coal into gold, so they can have more currency in the country. Just gold back to knowledge. The science came out being a pseudoscience, which is now basically low-key chemistry. And so with that idea, I always was fascinated by the idea of alchemy. Like, I can play chess, but I love the idea of chess. And so the point of the company, public speaking is just a facet, right? I hope to consult, which I do more pro bono work, but eventually as I continue getting these degrees to consult more, is to take whatever the problem is and change it, transmute it into a solution. So Kyle Richardson is a name that I know is branded my name itself. So the website is the company, like Kyle speaks, but he's under the company. And the goal is to not only be speaking, not only be consulting, but taking and working with other people who have good ideas, but may not have the money, or have good work ethic, but may not have the resources, and create something that, one, not only keeps our dollar black, but also that there's people invested in me and give them the opportunity to actually grow. Like in Jacksonville, I'm helping basically revamp a barbershop on the west side to make it basically more modern, so we can get more people in the barbershop, make it more like the movie The Barbershop, where people can go, get their hair done, get tape up, get cleaned up, and have those conversations that we all grew up having in barbershop. Without having to worry about bad cuts or more violence.
You're right, because the barbershop is a little different what it used to be, because back in the day when we were young, we hear all these different stories, and, it's kind of like the barber was your I wouldn't say like he was your mentor, but he was kind of like your therapist, kind of. if you had something wrong, you talk to him, and he give you the Bible verse, he give you the street verse, he give you the Father verse, he give you every single thing that you need just to have a reference to go off of, and you choose which one you want to use. But he's gonna first say the Bible. I ain't never seen or never heard a barber not speak with the Bible, especially an older barber. But when it comes to that exact point, when it comes to helping the next generation and helping these businesses, how do you see the next generation of black males? I understand that you that's one of your passions is to help black males become stronger, become better men. How do you see the next generation getting to that point? Because I've seen a difference in, I feel like there's a lot more work being put in by the younger group back, the newer generation. They're putting a lot of work in, but they have a lot more questions than we did. And they're able to ask those questions, because when we were young, we couldn't ask certain questions because it was kind of like stay in a child's place. But now it's like, if you have a question, ask it, and we will try to give you the answer. So how do you feel about the next generation of young black men in America?
I feel two ways. The first way is a bit crude, honestly. I honestly feel like they're soft. Since I work with them all the time, I just feel like they're really soft, really sensitive. And that may be more the street side of me talking, which means they're more in tune with their emotions, which is good. But also, like when we grew up, there was no room for softness. So you just had a natural grit and a natural tenacity about you to handle whatever the situation was. So it's good and bad. It's good that they're emotionally in tune, but it's also kind of bad because they're more inclined to quit. They're more inclined to give up before even going through any trial, right? And yet skill is only hardened by fire. So if you are going through trials, tribulations, and struggles, you're really not learning anything. You're not failing, you're not learning. You're not, getting beat up a little bit in the process of growth. You're not really going to see anything. But also on the other side of that, I am hopeful because I run a mentoring program here in Orlando called the Young Man Distinction, and their grades are generally better. They're unlike when we went to school. There's only sports or bands. Now they have student organizations. When they're in school, they can build their leadership portfolio. They're getting exposed to a couple of things we didn't even know what it was until we got to college. We get to experience that in high school. So I feel like there's more opportunity for the next generation of of young men to become stronger. But I think the deciding factor is going to be if they have the heart to get there. Like a lot of people can train and say they want to be a fighter until they get pushed in the face and realize it's not what you thought it was. Like everybody got a game plan until they get pushed in the face. So I'm a little on the fence about it, but I think that with proper training, proper consistent mentoring and resources being allocated to those young men, that they can, if not change the world, hopefully inspire the generation that has to change.
So you're still pursuing your doctor's degree, right?
Yes, right now I am a master's in public health candidate at UWF still, a graduate assistant, a research assistant, and I will be graduating in May with my master's with graduate certificate in emergency management and infection control, which basically means, long story short, I can work like the CDC, FEMA. If like The Walking Dead or like the strain ever happens, I got you, right? This is what we're going to do. But I have applied for my doctorate degree, and I'm actually waiting now to hear back from them to see if that's a viable option. And if not, I'll just, stack this bread. We work the plan to find another way to call myself Dr. French.
Do you view that going to college, nowadays you have an option, multiple, like you said, a little more options to choose from, whether going to school or not going to school. But how do you feel about college? Do you think it was probably one of the best decisions of your life, or was it like, I probably could have did something else?
For me, personally, I think that it's probably one of the better decisions in my life to be. Just because, not because of college itself, because honestly, college is a place. Right? A lot of people go and different things come out. But for me, I think it was so beneficial because the people that I was able to meet, people I was influenced by, and people invested in me, is what made college for me great. Like a lot of people may say, college is whatever, or they may say, UWF is whatever. But when we were there, when we were young, we were there, the faculty and staff who were there is what made it good. The people that we went to school with is what made it good. So those experiences, those memories that I share with those people, the connections that I share with those people is what made college for me great. And in that growth process with those people and with those faculty and staff, I was able to develop and fine-tune myself as a man. So for me, I think it was, I feel like I couldn't have done anything. I thought I could have went to the military, or I could have did a trade, I could have been a serviceman and did all those things just because of my personality with my tenacity and how like almost obsessive I get. I feel like whatever I would do great in eventually. But college was the right path for me. Now for other people, to each his own. Everyone's not built for it. But I do think in the coming years, getting degrees is going to be a necessity for our younger generation, because at the end of the day, no matter how strong your hustle is, how good your entrepreneurial ideas are, or how well your connections are, that little 40-cent sheet of paper solidifies and secures minimum pay wages. So if I fail at everything, my master's degree guarantees I make at least 60, 70 bands, worst case scenario. My doctorate secures in stone that I make 80, 90 grand, inevitably. So my degrees are my plan B. If my aspirations don't do what I want them to do, I can fall back on 80, 90 grand a year being called doctor. Instead of putting all my eggs in, you feel me?
Yeah.
Putting all my eggs in one basket. And if it falls through, then I have nothing. So my plan B is medicine. People often ask me, well, why do you do that? It doesn't make sense. Like, it's not meant to make sense, but it's meant to be successful. I know that I have aspirations of doing many things, but if I'm a master of none, it doesn't do me any good. With my doctor plan B salary, I can fund my own business. I can fund my own scholarships. I can still impact my community. I can do things I want to do on my own dime. Worst case scenario. But hopefully the things that I'm creating now, whenever I do make a doctor, generate enough income that they fund themselves. I can make passive income. And I can actually do more than I ever thought I could do in the first place.
What would you say to, if you had to meet a young kid, right, the young Kali, right, and what would you tell him? What would you speak life into him to prepare him for the future, or kind of like give him some type of guidance? What would you tell the young Kali?
Well, if I'm speaking to the younger me, first and foremost, I have to give myself hands, first and foremost, because I don't do well with authority. So I have to beat my own self up first and let myself know that, hey, I am superior to you. But after that's said and done, I will let them know that. And it's crazy you ask that because I'm actually putting together some old poems into a book for a competition that I'm trying to compete in button poetry. And some of my old poems basically foreshadowed what I do now and foreshadowed the journey I took to get here. So I told him, yo, what you write, believe. What you think, accept. Just listen more. So listen more, make more relationships, and don't be afraid to try. Because when I was younger, I didn't try too many things I knew I wasn't good at. I was like, nah, it's dead. Like, I'm not going to embarrass myself. But trying more gave me the opportunity to see what else I was capable of. If I never would have tried leadership, then I wouldn't know how good I was going to be at it. I was just a soccer player. And I wish I would have invested a little bit more in the relationships I had in high school and probably a little bit more in college and not cared so singularly on leadership or cared so singularly on my goals. Because when I look back, all I kind of have are my goals. Luckily, I have, some good friends that I've made over the years that I've been privileged to be close to and continue to be close to. But there's other relationships I could have fostered in a better light that would have probably created a different experience for me in life overall.
Okay. And I like how you put it, believe, when you write down, you believe it, just believe in yourself. I think there's a lot of people who don't believe in themselves. They have great ideas, they have that journal that they write in, but they don't see how they're able to get there, or they're like, this can't happen for me. This ain't me. And so they go with plan B first before they check out plan A. Right. And how important is family in your drive to success? Because I know a lot of kids and a lot of friends who are held back because they're afraid of what their parents might think on their first decision, on their plan A, right? Because plan B is what most parents did back in the day, which was jump right into work and see how that worked out for them and, live that comfortable life. But how important is it to have a family that's able to back you on your dreams and your aspirations?
I think that the best I can put it is it's important to have family, but it's not the only thing. Now, my family situation may not be the best, and some people's family situations certainly aren't the best either. And so I say that to say this is that at the end of the day, if nobody else supported me, I would still get it done. You feel me? And so rather your family supports you or not, if it's your dreams, it's your life. At the end of the day, and you know me, I said this before, at the end of the day, I'm not a what-if type of guy. So I don't mind going off, into the darkness by myself if that's the direction I need to go in to get to my goal. And which has made me successful and has allowed me to do a lot of things at a young age a lot of people haven't been able to do. And it will set me up for a very good future in the next, year to 3 years where I'm going to be comfortable. Now I can open up more doors. But there's a line, I definitely think there's a line between having your family support you and having your family cripple you. Because I've seen a lot of people who have made decisions to go back home or do whatever to help their family. In some scenarios, it worked out well for them. In other scenarios, it's crippled them. You cannot help anybody if you can't help yourself first. So even though I know I have family that honestly needs me, younger siblings, I have a 6-month-old younger sibling, bro.
For real?
You feel me? I have a 6-month-old younger sibling. It's wild. I still have 2 other siblings and my birth father living basically in a trailer. 2 sisters in Atlanta with my aunt. My little sister in Jacksonville I grew up with has my niece who's about to be 3 in January. I basically helped raise my niece. I can't help any of them as a broke college student. Can't. But as Dr. Rich, I got some options. So if that means I have to be out of touch, if that means I have to be away, if that means I can't share certain things with them at that time, it's a small sacrifice now so that when they do need me, I'm there and capable. So I think you have to reflect and see, not necessarily if your family supports you, but does your family in your life assist you? People who support you still hold you back, right? You can have that girlfriend that you're with that is supportive, but cripples you, and you'll get to go out and do things that you want to do because you're afraid how she's going to feel about it, or you're afraid of that reaction, versus going out and learning the things you may learn at a conference or something of that nature. So for me, family's a case-by-case basis. Because you know your family. My family isn't the best. Again, feel me, we got our own spew of issues, like any other family. But at the end of the day, I know between 1 year and 3, I will be able to do more for my family once I'm done with school. And I can step back into that role instead of worrying about them now and being stressed all the way out and not being able to finish school.
I like that. So, Khalid, you got any other words you like to give the people listening to this podcast, man? Any other tips or inspirational words or anything? What would you like to send off with?
Yeah, man. Actually, where is that? I actually just found an old quote that I wrote, apparently, I think back in 2009. I was looking through stuff today, and it says, "Freedom is only limited to your imagination." And so understand that no matter what it is that people want to do, how they want to do it, it comes down to how you imagine it. If I had to generate a idea that would be the key to my success, it's that in my head, as my mother says, you're a king, so walk as such. So in my head, I wear a crown. In my head, I'm at the top of the hill where the light is, chilling, right, having a good life. At the top of the hill, I am that superhero I grew up wanting to be in my head, right? So I am that Goku, right? So in my head, that's what it is. It sounds silly, but imagining or imitation is the first form of mastery. So if I don't practice belief, I don't practice tenacity, I don't practice grit, I don't imagine myself doing the impossible, how am I able to do what is possible or what is not? You feel me? But the only people who can't achieve those goals say something's impossible. To me, it's just a challenge. Say less, give me time, it'll be done. So take whatever it is your belief is and take whatever it is in your heart and holistically reflect, think about, and accept whatever it is that you want to do and go after it. There's going to be a lot ups and way more downs. But understand, like anything else, it's like a wave, and you just got to ride it. And in that, you'll learn that as you go through chasing your dreams and chasing this image in your head or using your imagination, you get more creative and mastering different skills. And eventually, as you come out the other side, after you've gone through fire, after you've gone through trials and tribulations and sacrifices and suffering, that heavy is the head that wears the crown. You feel me? And I'll leave you with this one last thing. I'm working on a thing called Project Atlas. All tremendous leaders are servants, right? And so in my company, a lot of workshops that I do, the idea is that Atlas, the guy who led the Titans and lost to the Greek god Zeus in that battle, his punishment was to hold up the sky, right? And so, like leadership, that burden of leadership, that burden of development, that burden of growth is always that heavy, but you always have to hold it up. If you ever get tired and set it down, you'll never achieve the things that you want to achieve. And as your life being your greatest work, as the architect of that greatest work, as you evolve, so does your work. But if you can't, like we were talking about athletics from the beginning, if you can't survive preseason, if you can't take the heat in the weight room, if you can't take the bumps and bruises that come along with training, you'll never be a great athlete. If you can't take the hours in the library, you'll never be a great scholar. If you can't have the imagination, you'll never be creative. So even though the heavy head that wears the crown, you have to be like Atlas and hold it up. The burden is always heavy and you can't put it down. Because those who put it down, like E.T. says, everybody wants to go in beast mode until it's time to do what beasts do. Everyone's not meant to be a leader. Everyone's not meant to be a follower. But the ones who hold the burden up, they know what it feels like. They know what sacrifice is. And those who want to protect them around them, if you can't do it, you may want to learn quickly. Because at the end of the day, there's only so much room for those at the top, and everybody can do it. Everybody has the same 24 hours, and everyone is created equal. Like I said before in that previous quote, but some work harder in preseason, some work harder in their 24 hours than others. And that's the only thing that makes a difference. I'm up every day at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, since, October 18th, 2011. That's how I get so much done. If I catch a sleep before class, I hit the gym. I'm grinding. By the time they wake up, I done put in at least 4 hours into my day. So plan ahead, hold up the burden, and believe. And you too will be there.
Now that's a finish. Okay. Oh, that's a good one. That's a.
Let me write that down.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be on a soundbite for real. Okay, that was a good one. All right. I haven't heard that one. Heard an impact that way in a little minute. Thought I was listening to ET for a second.
You know, man, it's a little speaker in me. I've been polishing up my skills, and I'd be in the mirror talking to myself.
Hey, I feel you, bro. So once again, Khalid, I'd like to thank you for jumping on to the On My Way podcast with me, man, and telling us your journey, your ideas, your vision, and giving some of the listeners some motivation to move forward and go after their dreams and follow their aspirations. And you know, at the end of the day, nobody wants to have regrets, right? I watched this video on YouTube, right, and it was a guy who was speaking, and his whole philosophy was, at the end of the day, when you go to the other side, don't talk to God, right, and He has that list of stuff that a checklist, right, and on that checklist is the stuff that He wants you to accomplish, right, and he said his entire goal in living is that once he get up there, he's accomplished so much that he's outdone the checklist, and as he's living his life, God is writing more stuff down because he's outdoing the checklist. He's killing life. He's murdering life, and so that's his entire drive. His entire motivation is that when God sees me, He's like, "Well done, and you overachieved. Good job."
Yeah, I can agree to that, because oftentimes when we were undergrads, there's a lot of things that I did that I often wondered, did I sacrifice too much? Did I go too hard? Is it really worth it? And at the time, of course, I didn't share with anybody because, you got to kind of be a strong leader in particular instances. But those are thoughts I always had, going through, why? I'm not seeing any results. And it wasn't until after we graduated and I was at one of my pros' house over the summer, and me and him just talking over breakfast, and we make it a tradition in our chapter that every time we go to Tampa and we leave our pros' house, we basically have breakfast with him at his house. And I'm looking over, and I'm looking at my Neos. I'm looking at my Neos. I'm looking at, people who are in the 100 now, UWF men, people who get Canon citations, people in particular leadership roles that didn't exist before. And I'm looking at all these things happening and all these things that people are experiencing and they're loving and they're enjoying. And in that morning, I realized, if I didn't sacrifice everything I sacrificed, these opportunities wouldn't have even existed for them to enjoy in the first place. So overachieving the checklist definitely works out. The bill always comes paid due. But sometimes we just don't get the change. You feel me?
I feel you, man.
The bill comes, it has to be paid. We just don't get to see the change. And so that's when I realized that a lot of people are enjoying the benefits that you, I, Reggie, and a lot of people that we've probably interacted with or worked with have left behind. And whether people know it or not, it's our sacrifice, our blood, sweat, tears, and the burden we hold up for them, even now, that gives them the grace and opportunity to play in the rain without getting wet, because we're holding the umbrella for them. So I can understand that.
And, you saying that, I understand I'm trying, this is supposed to be, getting to the end. But with you saying that, man, it's kind of like my girl, she's still at UWF. She graduates soon, and she told me, she was like, some people don't even believe that you was in C100. I was like, what you mean? She was like, there's like a lot of people who are here who was like, oh, he wasn't in C100, and then they're like a Juice Squad, which, I remember when that first started in my freaking dorm room, and she was like, yeah, a girl told me, she was like, Jawan started Juice Squad. He's the one over. I'm just like, he's not even on the LLC name.
hey, you see that business right there, that LLC thing. That's what runs it.
Yeah, man, we're moving into that realm, and it's just like, dog, like the recognition, right? You do it for you do it because you want eventually to get to that point where you have that honor of people being like, you did it. But at the same time, there's a lot of big name people that we don't know has done a lot. And they're reaping the rewards, right? But their name's not in the limelight, right? Their name's not, plastered in the stars. And they're not.
A thing like this, though, that's the trap of minority fandom. Like that's the trap of like stardom in a sense, right? Like back in the day, everyone wanted to fight to be the king, but no one wanted to be the king's advisor. You forget, but the king get knocked out on several occasions, but the advisor always stays. So I say this is that in your example, rather they remember you started Juice Squad or not, as long as they come to the parties, you get paid.
I say it all the time.
All the people who are in history that may not have been mentioned, like the bike men that created the air condition, how many people use AC on a daily basis? So I've learned that in leadership or in anything really that you create, if you seek it for fame, you'll never get to the peaks you need to be because you'll be too busy worried about being in the spotlight. But if you do what you need to do, you'll always be remembered in your works. There's many things and many people that we borrow, that we copy things from, and we may never know their names, but we use their skills, and in essence, they live through those assets. Like the organizations, Juice Squad, your podcast, and all the other things you've personally been involved in. If you were to expire, 100 years from now, those things are still going. You still live through your works. Your name is still on the LLC, like you say, right? So at the end of the day, as long as there's documentation to prove that you were there, that's all that matters, big guy.
You're right. And we're going to come to a close because if we continue, man, you're going to keep giving out so much inspiration that, people are never going to drop this podcast. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I would love them to constantly be on the podcast, but, we got to head out of here because I got work in the morning, too.
Same thing. Well, let me tell everybody who's listening, please go through and check out my website, KaliRichardson.com. That's Kali Richardson.com. Follow me on Instagram, Kali the Poet. If you can't reach me, reach Pernell, reach anybody that I'm connected to, or you can find a path to me. My line is always open.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. And you listen to your On My Way podcast with your boy, Pernell Bills. And thank you, Kali Richardson, for stepping up and jumping onto the podcast and building some life into some people.
Anytime, big guy. I appreciate you for the opportunity.
No problem, bro. And we out.